That girl is without a doubt the lowest, most awful creature that walked the planet.
I'm Steph.
And I'm Ange.
We're Nerdazons.
So, we always laugh when we do these.
I know. I don't know why we're so confident before we record, and then we do it, and then we giggle.
I think it's because we pull faces when we do it.
I know. If anyone saw us trying to do like voice acting or something, it'd be terrible.
Nothing beats you in last episode with the dread. You can't handle the truth. I am the law.
I am the law.
It's so good. So my episode, which is the 1961 Parent Trap versus the 1998 Parent Trap. To me, this is one of the best Disney remakes. Back in the 90s, Disney was on its game. You know, you had Flubber, you had Freaky Friday, and now you have remakes.
Oh, Freaky Friday would have been later. It was when Lohan grew up. Like, she was older then.
Yeah, but it was within that era, you know, that they were good.
I watched this film so many times as a kid. I loved it.
Same. All right. So I chose this because who doesn't love Lindsay Lohan pre-Psycho?
Yeah. Yes. We shouldn't laugh at that. We have a habit of laughing at other actors' misfortune.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah. But so, you know what though? Like, I mean, we'll get to talk about her a bit later, but let's kick off with the first one.
All right, so 1961, two identical twin sisters separated at birth by their parents' divorce are reunited later at a summer camp where they scheme to bring their parents back together. The girls, one of whom has been living with her mother and the other with their father, switch places after camp to go work on their plan. The first objective being to scare off a gold digger pursuing their father.
I am so glad that you chose this and I got to watch this. I'd always seen the cover, but I'd never watched it. And I'm really happy that, you know, I watched this film.
That's awesome. Okay, two things that are on my mind. Why didn't they get twins? Why did they get the one girl? The green screen is incredible.
Yeah, for the 60s. Oh.
And the fact that when they had, you know, side characters, when they had, like, obviously the girls were replaced while the other one was acting or whatever, you couldn't tell. They hid that really well.
I think they did that really well in both films, to be honest.
Yes. One thing that frustrated me was, three things. That, as well as the fact that who gives up their own kid? Like, who gives up their own kid and is like, you get one, I get one?
I mean, I can see if, like, the children aren't born yet, and you knew you were separating and there were two, it would be the easiest, like, you'd save so much money in making that decision. Yeah, I'm not justifying what they did as right, but I'm just saying I can see why it was done.
Also, it's a movie and not a documentary.
Yes.
Also, the girls go to a very unsupervised camp. What kind of camp allows gambling with 11-year-olds?
That's only in the second one.
Yeah, I know.
Aren't we talking about the 60s?
We are, but I'm just saying that, like, what other camp will allow the girls to make such big schemes and ruin their place? And, you know, I just think it should have been a bit more supervised.
But that,
and then sending the girls to the isolation camp and having them to work it out, again, unsupervised.
Yeah, naturally it was a different time, especially like in the original in the 60s. You can see how a timeout cabin would be perfect. Even in the 80s, things were run differently to what it was in the 90s, kids. And I feel the 90s was the epitome of pranks. You know, with The Simpsons coming out and all the pranks that Bart did and things like that. And I feel like it just fit with it. Let's go back to the original. I actually, do you know one thing, and I know I'll probably get a lot of haters of the remake on this, but I actually really enjoyed less pranks at the camp. Like, they went through that really quickly, and the pranks weren't as, like, super severe. When I rewatched the other one later, like, you notice that the pranks were really intense, and you just think, how do you do that? B, if I did that, I'd be in so much trouble, and I would be terrified of getting in trouble with my parents, you know, whereas I feel in the original, it was just 2 pranks each. Like, one cut the girl's dress and the other one, I think, put like honey on the bed. That was it.
I also really enjoyed the dynamic between the mum and the dad in this one. So how about I just read the next one and then we just go straight into comparing?
Both. Okay. Yeah. All right. This is going to be a bit of a different layout for this episode.
1998, in this update of the 1961 film, twins Annie and Hallie, Lindsay Lohan, are strangers until happenstance unites them. The preteen girls' divorced parents, Nick Dennis Quaid and Elizabeth Natasha Richardson, are living on opposite sides of Atlantic, each with one child. After meeting at the camp, American Hallie and British-raised Annie engineer an identity swap, giving both the chance to spend time with their parent they've missed. If the scheme works, but it might just make the family whole again. Aww.
Yeah. I'm going to drop back, actually, to the point you just raised about you liked the dynamics. One thing I really liked about the 61 version is the parents' characters were much more in depth than in the remake. So you knew a lot more about them. You knew about their situation, you know, why they'd split, but in more depth than the original. However, I actually found the chemistry between the parents better in the remake. Like, it was just a much more romantic chemistry, whereas in the original, like, it was just straight out anger and I don't know, even when the mum first comes, like, she's literally just playing a game and messing with him and his fiance, whereas I just found it really sweet and adorable when Dennis Quaid first sees her and he's like, he goes gaga in the face and nearly like, and he trips in the pool. I found that a bit, I don't know, I liked the in-depth 61 version, but I think the chemistry was better in the remake.
I think I'm going to disagree with that. With the 98 version, if they hated each other so much and that they, you know, split up to sisters, you would think that they would have so much hatred towards each other, which it just looks like, oh, I still love you. Like, why would they not talk to each other for so many years? Like, whereas with the 1961 version, you can see that, you know, they don't like each other. They're there just to, like, swap their kids back. And the way that, you know, she slaps him and it was very fake, but very funny. And also the fact that you could tell that it would have taken months for them to get back together. It wasn't just an instant wedding. A week later, I love you, let's get back together.
But that's what happened in the original. Like, at the end, they got married on the property. They didn't. Yes, they did, on the property, and the girls are the bridesmaids.
Oh, yes, they did. Sorry.
Yes.
Yeah,
but I think, though, because, like, the way they did it in the 98 version is it wasn't, like, in the 61 version, I liked that they were open and upfront, that their personalities just didn't work. And they were adults enough to understand that in their relationship and move on in their own directions. But in the 98 version, they made it out in a way that the mum, she needed, obviously, to get some time to reflect, and she had hoped that he would follow. It was just miscommunication on their part, which is why they were separated, because he didn't know that she wanted him to follow her, but she also really wanted him to do it, and just because it never happened, they never got back together. It's not like it was an angry separation. So it was much more believable for me to see them come back together, as opposed to two people who were literally poisoned the second they got put together in the room, and then they got back together at the end, and it's like, well, all because she left you. Like, instantly he walked into the kitchen, and the 61 version is like, oh, I love this about you. And it's like, you literally were with a fiance moments ago. I didn't believe it in the 61 version. I liked the depth of the characters, but I didn't believe the chemistry.
I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of Dennis Quaid. I don't know. He just, like, me. I don't know. I think that's why. And also Natasha Richardson, I was always getting confused with Emma Thompson.
I always got that. I used to, for years, think it was her. And then when Natasha Richardson sadly passed away, I was just like, they're like, yeah, the mum. When she passed away, I remember everyone saying, oh, the mum from Parent Trap died. And I'm like, Professor Trelawney. And they're like, no, it's a different person. And for years, I just always thought it was Emma Thompson who played. They look so similar. And you know what it is? It's the hair.
Now. I'm sorry. No, she did in 2004.
Yeah, and because naturally I was a massive Harry Potter
2009,
freak.
sorry.
So, yeah, I just remember hearing about it thinking, oh my God, it's, Professor Trelawney.
Aww. I really liked, I'm going to have to say it, Lindsay Lohan over the other girls. As this.
I broke these two down by categories. So, my views on the parents. I think that the remake takes that one. But with the main characters, the two actresses, the young girls, I actually do have to say Lindsay Lohan takes this one. She brought so much more depth to the two characters. I feel like I'm using that word a lot today, but when I mean depth, I mean she brought two completely separate personalities. Like you had the British posh girl and then you had the like sporty fat California kid. And I believe that they were two different people, but I feel the original actress, I think they were both from within America. She had a bit of a posh accent, the one from Manhattan at first. Yeah. But then it didn't last long. It's like she forgot to continue with it. And I feel that they were really similar. And I didn't believe that there were two different personalities, like two different twins. Yeah, that's my views on that. I think
I agree.
Definitely takes the points for that.
And also, I found like Lindsay Lohan added her own little quirks to, not in this writing, but, in the quote that I said at the beginning, she's rotten, and then her turning around and going, thank you very much. Like, that was funny.
Yeah. And you know what? As a kid, I always, until, you get old enough to learn how to research these things, but as a kid, when I watched this, I actually thought they were sisters.
I know. I love this movie so much, and I'm really glad that I got to watch the original because I liked it as well. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And it was a lot of fun. I'm going to say it this early, 1998 takes the cake, definitely. Also, the relationship between the two parents and the kids. So,
even the relationship between the two, I'm going to have to agree with you on this one. It's going to come across very early that the 98 version, for once a remake, actually outshone the original. But even with the relationship, it was so believable to me that each parent absolutely adored their children. And even when they both found out that they had the other twin, like they immediately, the emotion on their faces that they acted, they were just stunned, and you could see immediate love on their face for their other child that they didn't know that was there. And it was much more genuine acting in that one than it was in the original. But again, the 60s personalities were very different, and I can see how the original, when it came out at the time it would have been very popular.
I agree. And also, I loved Hayley Mills, who played the twins in the original. I really like her relationship with her grandfather. That was beautiful. Even, when she was, the relationship between her and her dad in the original, to me, was a lot stronger than in the remake. And that's the same as the mother. I felt like the dad was like, yeah, we'll go camping or whatever. I keep saying that as well, I feel like. But I feel like the relationship between the twins and each parent was a lot better.
What, in the original?
Yes.
Yeah, I have to disagree to that. I will say one point, in the original, the adoration she had for her dad was much stronger. Like the way she'd be like, isn't he swell? And she just like thought he was amazing. And I'm like, you're so cute. And she really did adore her dad. And that was a stronger, it was stronger. It came across the screen stronger than in the remake. the connection for the parents towards the girls was stronger in the remake than it was in the original.
I really, really liked the camping trip when the girls in both of them are like, put two sticks together and then that'll get rid of the...
Yeah. I love that. Again, I'm going to say I'm so glad you chose this and we were able to watch this, because there were so many things. The script wasn't exactly the same, but they kept parts of it, and it made more sense when I watched the remake, because the original script had more details to it. Mm-hmm. Like you only see in the remake Meredith clapping it before she goes to bed, but in the original you see how the girls set that up and tell her that without actually telling her that. It's so cute, and they did it like in a way of like, oh, she's not going to hear us. But actually, since we're on the topic of the stepmother, who do you think was the better?
I don't know, because I really liked Elaine Hendrick, because she just played it so well of just being a bitch.
Yeah.
And like, I'm going to send the kids off to boarding school as soon as I can. You know, also when, again, with the camping trip, I feel like that was overdone.
Thanks.
With the grasshopper or whatever it was.
The lizard.
The lizard in the hair, and then like I just felt like that was over the top. I also feel like the other stepmother was a little bit more cunning.
Yes. Yeah, okay. That's the word I was looking for. I didn't know how to describe it, and I was trying to think of it. Perfect, yes.
She was a little bit more cunning, and you could clearly see in the remake that the stepmother was in it for the money. She was totally in it for the money, whereas the original, she was in it for the money, but it was less obvious.
Correct. Yeah. Yes. That's you summed it up perfectly. I think they were both great. I actually feel in the original, if they did get married, it would be one of those horrible situations where no one would believe the kids, because she just doesn't come across like she would be nasty, which is, I think that's what you're meant to do in that film. You're meant to come across like that. In the second one, yeah, it was just straight out obvious. Although I have to say, she does not look like a 25-year-old when she says she's 25. And to be like, I don't know, she just seemed
that
like a 30-year-old. Yeah, I know. No one's that put together at 25. And
clearly, neither of us are.
No. Definitely not. When I rewatched it, I didn't realize the age until, I guess, I was above that age. and I watched it and I'm like, oh.
40-something? Yeah.
Reasons for her to continue with that, don't you know?
Oh, so sorry. But
so next point I wanted to make out was, and again, this is really down to the era that it was made and the budget that they had, but the set in the 98 definitely takes the cake. You had both London and America filming, which really helped set the mood for the different locations.
Didn't just have those green screens.
Yeah.
And the cars, it is the 60s. They didn't have this kind of stuff. They probably didn't have the budget to, go overseas. But it was obviously like, clearly it's a green screen.
Yes.
But for its day, I think it's a fantastic film. I'm not, yucking on any of these movies.
Yeah, I think they're both good.
Obviously, I've watched the 1998 one a zillion times, but I'm actually going to watch the original again. Like, it is a movie I will watch again and again and again.
Yeah, I think I would. I mean, I might not watch it as many times. The original, the remake, I've watched so many times. If it's on, I'll watch it. I probably wouldn't go out of my way anymore now that I'm older and the list of to watch has grown and I need to finish them.
Netflix to watch, I flick it about 20 times and I'm still not at the end. It's ridiculous, my watch list.
Yeah, but we always go back and put things we've seen on many, many times.
You know what? Okay, I'm slightly off track. However, because, I have anxiety and things like that, I was reading a article and they were saying, if you tend to watch the same thing again and again, it's actually good for your anxiety because you know what's coming, you know how it's going to end, and so it's more of a like comforting thing to know this is here for me and I know what's going to happen, I know what's ending, all that kind of stuff.
Interesting. That's really cool.
I was like, wow, that makes so much sense to why I go back to Schitt's Creek.
I see. I still haven't given it a second go.
Oh, good.
I know you and the rest of the entire world's population keep telling me that. Have other things on mind to watch
Also,
this.
side note again, have you watched any more Staged?
No.
Appointed.
I will watch it. Gosh. I'm sorry I've had a social life.
How dare you have a
It's been the
social
month
life?
of Angela and her awesome B-Day celebrations. I'm tired now.
You get a month of celebrations.
It's been like 3 weeks.
Oh, poor you. Oh, I'm so sad. Oh.
Back to the movies.
Okay, back to the movie. I really, really loved the dynamic between Lindsay
nannies?
Lohan and her butler. And then the nanny.
Yes. Oh, they were so cute. They were genuine members
hands.
of the family, you know?
And
like
their handshake was so cute.
it was so adorable. And it was like, even with Chessie, she which is strange. I always thought she was Jessie with a J, but when you actually go, when I went back and researched, side note, when I researched it, it actually came up with the Chessy. So it's Chessie. And I'm like, I've never like seen a name like that. Don't.
I really like the dynamic between, them rather than the original.
That was another point, actually. You just brought me to another point that I remembered I was going to mention. I actually think it was better to remove the grandmother from the remake. Because she was just intense. Like, when you went into it, definitely set the household for the 1961, and it's the 60s. I think a lot of the things she was nitpicking on, like your posture and things like that, was definitely a thing at that time for girls. They would always, correct those things. But I definitely think it was a good addition not to include her in the remake, because I thought she was just a bit of a killjoy. She throughout the original, she was nitpicky. She was like a drill sergeant. She ran the household, and then right as they say it's the other twin, she's like, I have a right to be in there. I love her. And it's just like, you were just so nasty this entire film. I don't believe you.
And I love the fact that Chessie was like, is that you? And she kept it a secret. Like,
and she was
that
crying. I'm going to make you whatever you want. Doesn't matter. I'm going to make it. I know. They were so cute. And then when they get together, the butlers.
I don't know how I feel about that.
I love it.
I don't know how I feel.
It was like really quick, cute. You didn't have to get super invested. It was just a little adorable. They didn't go in too depth. I think if they tried to expand that story more, it'll be like, no, we don't need it. But it was just cute, and just enough little cuteness,
Also, as soon as they got to the camp in the 98 version, and then I saw Janet, I'm just like, all I could think of was, ha, 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 like Janet's voice from Friends. Janet was one of the girls, you know what I'm talking about, right?
Was she the one that pulled the bag out?
She was at the camp.
But did she pull the bag out for Lindsay Lohan? She was the tie-dye girl?
No, she was one of the camp leaders.
Was she? She wasn't the one that sent them to the room.
Jr. Yeah, she was one of the camp leaders, and all I could think of, I haven't had the baby.
I remember her from Friends. Oh my god! So was she the one that was always with the headmistress, the one that had the glasses? Wow, she looks so different from Friends.
I know.
That's crazy.
I know, but every time she came on, I'm just like, I can hear that meme. I can hear her
She's the one that had the really annoying voice, right?
Yep.
And they wanted to, was it Ross was dating her?
Yep.
I had no idea. I can't believe I didn't put two and two together.
No, I was like, as soon as I saw it, I'm like, oh my goodness. I guess it's to do with the age, but I think the camp in the second one seemed like a lot more fun as well. But also, how did they get all of the equipment from their bedroom on top of the roof?
Do you know what? I've been asking that question since the very first time I watched this film. You're not supposed to ask that, Steph.
I'm so sorry that I'm trying to not think logically right now.
I think this film came out, I was 7, and when I watched it, I was asking those questions. So, I don't know. I do not know. But I know.
Physics?
Maybe. Could be. Back to that. I think It does look more fun, and it is definitely more like a 90s kid, you know, with pranks and things like that. And it is the vibe of TV at the time for kids. However, when I went back and rewatched it this time, I will have to like say the original gets this, but I just feel like it dragged on. Like the
I agree.
pranks, like they could have, like I think the original did it perfectly. It showed there was a feud between them, and like they got isolated really quickly, and I thought that was better. However, I think when from the isolation, this is why I think Lindsay Lohan was like really good at acting, is because it was believable that they started to connect. Whereas I didn't feel the connection so much between the other two in the original, but I think the pranks were better in that one because it was just simple, done, and you moved on with the story. But it just dragged a little bit for me in that. And same with the camping scene. I thought the pranks were just continuous, and it was just like, ugh, I'd have been.
But also what you said before, it was all about pranks because it's also a kids movie. And, you know, you find that stuff absolutely hilarious.
Like, look at Flubber. Like, it's all about getting hurt and causing a wreck and mess, and that's what I think the 90s was. And I think Nickelodeon Slime Kids and everything was coming out. It's, you know, it was just the era. But I think as I'm a bit older now, it's like, just move on from the story. I do like the transformation scene much better in the 98 version as well. It was just so much more involved, and I liked that.
But I like cutting their hair, and that they even knew to, like, one bites their nails, the other one doesn't. Like, I like the fact that they even went down to those details.
Yeah, but that detail was much more in depth in the original. When she was in the car and she's like, Dad, you noticed? And he's like, of course. And I don't know, they really showed that they had put the effort in to think of that. And in this one, they only mentioned the biting the nails once when she got in the car. Yeah. But it wasn't as obvious as the original.
The original two girl, Hayley Mills, I think, you know, I genuinely thought that it was two twins because I didn't think that they had the capacity to do that back then, you know, to have double.
Same. I always, like, that's a cover that I remember seeing at Video Easy and Blockbuster. Like, I remember seeing that cover when you'd go hunting for movies, and I just never watched it because I'm like, that's not the Parent Trap, that's not the one I know. Stupid ignorant me at that time, not realizing that movies could have been remade. But I remember seeing that cover, and I always thought it was done by two girls, like two sets of twins, and it doesn't even look like the same girl. Like, it's really impressive what they were able to achieve in 1961.
I also liked the beginning of the original Parent Trap better. I liked that it was a clay animation and that it was like told a little bit of a story.
Too. It was cute.
It was a little bit of a story as well. Like, I think like that Grease. Was just cute. Yeah.
Grease was a cartoon at the beginning. I always loved the beginning more, but I always love cartoons. So
Grease, I can't watch anymore. I realized how so many sexual innuendos in that movie that I never even knew about. And also,
how could you have not known?
Because I haven't watched it.
They were even dealing with, like, a teen pregnancy in that film.
Yeah, but, like, when they were singing, she so mean, ha, ha, all that, you know, Grease, lightning, boom, boom. I was like,
I just can't believe you're only, like, discovering this
because also Grease was never my thing.
Right, I got you.
Grease, I watched it once and I was like, and then I watched it again when I was a little bit older and I'm like, whoa, like, people actually listen to this?
Yeah.
Okay. But yeah, no, I would definitely watch both of them again.
Yeah, agreed.
I'm really, like, chuffed that you liked it as well.
Well, you know me, I like classic films. I like watching.
I know, but I mean, I didn't know that you liked the 98 version either. Because
I did.
I thought, it's a bit too, like, teeny boppy for you, you know.
I did feel when you chose it, I'm like, oh, why are we picking a kid's film? But then I'm like, nah, you used to watch this all the time as a kid. Just go back and rewatch it.
And it still holds up. Both of them still hold up.
I think they do. Like, I don't think that there's really any, even for the 60s, there weren't anything that, like, everything aged, you know. I have to say one final point.
Sure.
I thought the mum in the 60s looked way prettier with her 1950s hairstyle before she went and got it cut. And I'm like, oh, girl, you looked so much more gorgeous with that elegant hairdo, and you went with this, like, frizz ball.
I know.
I'm like, why did you cut it? When they were like, oh, you're so beautiful. I'm like,
You were beautiful beforehand.
You were stunning beforehand.
She was stunning.
Oh, they both were.
And he was very handsome.
Even in the 98 version, she's gorgeous. And I love that it just shows, because there's always a stigma about girls having to have longer hair, and it just shows that look at how beautiful she is. She didn't have long hair.
Mm-hmm. Look at how beautiful I am, and I don't have long hair.
Exactly. See, you're gorgeous and you're stunning.
Thanks. Tell me more.
When you picture the cartoon 101, you can keep my part in if you like. But when you picture the cartoon of 101 Dalmatians and you've got the mum and dad, she looks like what the mum would look like in real life, with the short, like, blonde hair, skinny, petite.
Yeah.
That's who would have been perfect, in my opinion, as the mum in a live action.
She was actually in not the Wizard of Oz, but Off to See the Wizard, the cartoon version of Wizard of Oz.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
It was so sad.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you, how many movie reels do you give the 1961 version?
I would probably give this one a 3.5.
Mm-hmm.
I really liked it. If the opportunity was ever around for me to rewatch it, I probably would. If I had kids, I'd show them that one. It held up. It's a good film. I probably wouldn't go out of my way to specifically put it on. So I think that's why I'm ranking it down. And as I have already specified, I did like the remake better. I'd go out of my way to watch that if I felt like watching it. So I think a 3.5 is good. It's just above average.
I'm going to go the same, 3.5. Because I will watch this again. I had a lot of fun. It was just a fun movie. So I'll definitely watch it again, but I won't be, watching it for a while. What do you think this got on Rotten Tomatoes?
Okay, I normally have a structure when I try and guess this, but this one I don't even know how it ranked with, like, audience or anything at the time it came out, but I'm going to guess 82.
Close, higher.
Wow. 87?
Very close.
Ooh, okay, what was it?
But you're wrong. It was 90%.
That's impressive. I can see it being 90%. I didn't really have any, I usually have a benchmark in my head of where I'm going to guess from there, but I can see that it held up. It's a good film. I think it's very close to the remake in my opinion. So yeah, that's a really good mark.
That's why I kind of chose this one to just go straight into comparing, because they are quite similar movies.
Correct.
And that we didn't have different, like, all the characters were there.
Correct. We couldn't really just talk about one and go to the other. It wouldn't have flowed nicely. I think you really needed to actually speak about both and compare about both for the subtle differences between the two.
And then how many movie reels do you give the 98 version?
I'd give it a 4. 4 is my favorite number for ranking on this. But I think it's a good film. I'd rewatch it. I have rewatched it many times. I think my amount of views is why I rank them so high. So for this one, it held up. Even now, I think it's still good. It's light. It's funny. It's a really great. I think if you were watching with family, it would be great. It's good for the kids. It's good for the adults. It's an all-rounder good film.
I'm going to change my opinion to yours, because we've been doing that a lot. I'm going to actually go 4.5.
Nice.
Because I genuinely love this movie. I mean, first of all, I wouldn't have chosen it if I didn't like it. But also, it's just a fun movie when, you've had a bad day and you just want something to just, yep, I like it. So, yeah, that's why I'm giving it
I like that.
I really like this movie. Okay, what do you think that this one got on Rotten Tomatoes?
I have a feeling this one didn't rank as high as the second. I'm going to go 86. Did I get it?
No way, dude. You got it.
Did I get it? Oh, I haven't got one in a while. I was starting to think my guessing skills were gone.
Virtual high five.
Virtual. Yeah. That's very freaking close.
I know.
That's only a 4% difference, and
know.
and that just shows you how similar these films are and how good both films are.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
crazy. Oh my God, I'm so excited. I haven't got one in a very long
I don't
time.
think I've ever got one.
You have?
Have I?
Yeah. I remember
Oh.
you have. I can't remember what episode, but I do remember you did get one.
Was it being that the remake of Psycho was a 0? Because
No.
that's what it deserves.
No, remember,
I know, but I'm saying it deserved a 0 because
oh,
we both hated it so much.
no, but what was the one that we did recently with Charlie's Angels deserved a 0? That was worse.
Yes.
I still stand by my decision in saying that was worse than Psycho remake.
I think I'd watch. I don't know.
I'd watch the Psycho one more.
Let's on to.
Let's move on to
Notice on's Nerdy Notables.
So I have something much more exciting than anything you're going to say yet, because somebody actually commented on one of our YouTube podcast video episodes, and I think this is a really cool point that I think deserves to be mentioned.
Tell me, I didn't know that.
So on our Charlie's Angels episodes, someone commented a fun fact. And I had no idea about this. But the fun fact is, in the original, when you see Drew Barrymore fall down naked into the boys' backyard and the two boys are playing the PlayStation as a 2-player game, the game that they're playing is actually Final Fantasy, which is a 1-player game. So there was a controller added in and they weren't playing anything.
That's hilarious.
I know. How funny is that? I thought it was a really good fun fact to add. You know, we don't get many fan listeners out there incorporating fun facts for us. So I just wanted to mention that really cool fun fact.
That's awesome.
From MJ Macca Jr. YouTube.
Thanks for the comment and the support.
Yeah, thanks for listening.
So I have been watching RuPaul's Drag Race Down Under.
Yeah.
Don't know how I feel about it so far.
Like, good or bad?
I don't know.
Or the excitement's just not there? Because RuPaul's not in it, is he?
Yeah, no, RuPaul's in it.
Oh,
and
okay.
so is Michelle. I can't speak today. Michelle. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not loving it as much as I was loving the American and the British one.
Right.
Also, I've nearly finished reading Stardust for the second time. What about you? Have you started it yet?
I'm up to like page 4.
That's okay, because you're not a reader.
You were almost going to say, what?
And then
I saw your mouth twitch, and then you're like, that's okay. It's a safe space.
This is always a safe space. I know that you're not a huge reader, so that's actually congratulations for getting it past 4 pages.
I needed to start because I'm like, if I can at least just start, I'll get the motivation. But when books just sit there, you don't have the motivation to start it. So I'm hoping now that I've started it, I'll try and read a couple pages every night before bed. I have a bad habit of looking at my phone. So
Same.
I know they say it keeps you up, but I actually find looking at my phone on low light helps me go to sleep. I feel like it helps me, I don't know,
wind down,
quieten my mind. Mind space. That's just my opinion.
My nighttime routine is to put a podcast in. I'm obsessed over Behind the Bastards, so that's all about horrible people throughout history. Yeah, I love it. And then I do that, and then I also play Candy Crack.
Nice. I usually just I find something that I can mindlessly scroll through because I feel like that's the way you switch off sometimes in my head. But anyway, hoping to maybe continue with Stardust a couple pages a night. Well, I've just got to keep convincing myself a couple pages at night, and maybe hopefully I might start taking it to read on my lunch break. But I've got to pick up my pace because we need to do this for an episode.
I'm like genuinely, I know it's too early, but I'm genuinely excited to do Stardust. Like,
yeah, we've got, it's not until August, right?
Might actually be my Call Me By Your Name of this year.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, I'm going to put it out there.
I still feel to me that The Exorcist is going to be my Call Me By Your Name of this year because I was so genuinely thrilled to finally read that book and get you to watch it. Anyway.
Oh, I was so pumped. I was so glad that I watched the movie and I read the book.
And they were both as good as each other. But anyway,
They really were.
I actually, this is the extent of my movie watching lately, is I watch about 5 minutes. I fit 5 minutes in when I can. So I don't even watch like a solid film anymore. But I've started rewatching some of the like cult classic 80s slasher horror films. So they're, they're just bad that they're good. But I love that. So yeah, I'm just going back rewatching some of them. I'm watching Sleepaway Camp series first. I didn't know there were like 6 of them, because I was like going in my head and I'm like, I want to rewatch, the Nightmare on Elm Streets and Friday the 13th, and I'm like, no, let's look for some others. Let's go back and watch some. So I'm just fitting that 5 minutes in every so when I can. And I've been watching on Disney Plus. Well, I'm not watching it through Disney Plus, but you can find it on Disney Plus. The Bad Batch, the new Star Wars cartoon animated series. It's so good. If you haven't watched them, I strongly recommend you watch the few episodes from the last season of the animated Clone Wars, because it introduces them in that, and it has a few key points in that last season that are really crucial into this next one. So this next one is like a really good look into
the Star Wars universe.
Yeah, and especially when like the Empire takes over. So it's like the really quick change from episode like right after episode 3, like instantly, like when you sit there and you think, how did you go from the clones to stormtroopers? And just to see even like uniforms changing quickly and things like that, it's pretty cool. So yeah, that's where I'm at the moment.
I have a little confession to make.
Okay.
I'm actually starting to read again, because sometimes I like to have 2 books going at once.
Yeah.
I'm reading True Blood. I'm reading True Blood from the beginning.
I was obsessed with those books up until I actually got a fair way into that series. I think I got up to like the 8th one or something, or the 9th one, and my friend gave me one. It was like, oh, yeah, that was so good, I need the next one. And she's like, oh no, you missed one, you got to go back one. And then as soon as I started that, it wasn't as engaging. I think because I already knew what had happened, I needed to learn the next part, and to have to go back, that's how quick it was for me to turn off reading that series. But I actually really enjoyed the books up until the 8th one. Yeah,
same. I just feel like at the moment I just need trash.
Yeah.
And this
is trash.
It's like a young person version of Mills and Boone, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so next episode, what are we doing?
So next episode is my choice. Woo-hoo. And we are doing RoboCop, the original.
No, we're doing...
No, we're not. Yes. Okay. So next episode is my choice, and we are doing Infernal Affairs, which is the Hong Kong original film. So Infernal, not internal. A lot of people get that mixed. You can actually find it on Netflix. So Infernal Affairs, the Hong Kong version, versus its remake, The Departed.
I can't wait for that one.
I have watched only one so far, and believe it or not, I have watched neither of these films. So I went a little different. I wanted to go in with a clean slate. I wanted different action. I wanted to spice up the mix a bit. I haven't seen The Departed. And everyone's like, you haven't seen The Departed? I'm like, nope.
Oh. Okay, I've got to stop talking about that. So I'm very excited to talk about The Departed and Infernal Affairs.
Yes.
So if you like us, you can listen to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and wherever you get your podcasts from. You can follow us on Instagram and Facebook, and we'd love to hear from you at nerdazons@outlook.com. Until then, stay nerdy.